Julie, here, you can have these now. Let me see, there's something else I had to ask. It'll cover me. I do.
Screening through our assessment tool when we went on board cases. Did you?
Alrighty. We'll go ahead and move forward. Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to Public School Board regular board meeting for Monday, July 17th. If you would like to make public comment, our cards can be found in the entryway on either side, and if you want to hold them up, one of our staff persons will get those from you to make sure you have an opportunity to speak. We welcome and appreciate your presence at this meeting. We respectfully request that you turn off cell phones or refrain from clapping, cheering, or making audible comments. We invite you to make formal public comment during the designated agenda times, either about an agenda item or a non-agenda item, or both. If it is about an agenda item, please make sure you identify what that agenda item is as well. And you will have approximately 3 minutes to make any public comment that you would like to make. Kathy, if you would call the roll.
Yes. Ms. Milton is excused. Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
Here.
Ms. Shotke?
Here.
Ms. Wade? Ms. Davis is excused. Mr. Eatman's excused. Ms. Lewis is here. President Williams?
Present.
We have a quorum.
And we need approval of tonight's agenda. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign? All right, we will move forward with the approval of the agenda, and we have no celebrations tonight, so we'll go to our first public comment, and that will be regarding board agenda items only. Okay. And Secretary's report.
Yes, there's a committee meeting scheduled for the Finance Committee next Monday, July 24th at 4:30 in the Administration Building.
Ready? And we'll have committee chair updates. We'll start with Academic Achievement Committee.
Yeah, the last Academic Achievement Committee was June 20th, and I did share some highlight information by email with folks, and I believe you may have this at your desk as well. This is a brief that Dr. Lovelady Mitchell put together, very thorough brief, I would add. Thank you very much, Dr. Mitchell. But it does highlight pretty much more than highlights. It goes through and gives a summary of all the agenda topics. So I don't know if I can do a better job than this, frankly, but you do see the agenda there at the top of the third page of this, and the ensuing brief really just gives you a summary of each of those agenda items. So first thing we had was the Instructional Council update. Some of those things were an update on a pilot course that we had this past year, Transition to College Mathematics. It was piloted at Union, CA Frost, and UPrep. It was largely targeted to our Promise Zone students who intend to go to Grimes Community College. It was a joint effort from the high school instructors and college instructors to identify sort of the course materials as well as the outcomes. And so that was a pilot to get those students headed to GRCC a bit more prepared for their college level math. So there was just a reflection of that from the lead, one of the instructors for that, Nikki Shelton, who teaches at CA Frost, and just overview some of the suggestions and next steps for improving the course next year. Continue with the math theme. There was an overview of the math advisory committee meetings, introduce some new staff, and then also overview of courses that are in the current proposal course pipeline and just kind of where those courses are in the proposal phase of process. Moved on with a special education brief that largely focused on helping us understand the purpose of IEP programs and the different types of IEP meetings and the services associated with such and eligibility. Went on to the read by third grade piece, and there are quite a few bullets there, but they pretty much just summarize where some of our third grade students were. And you'll see a chart, well, a box in one of the, about the fifth page there that kind of highlights that even better. 126 of our scholars were eligible for retention based on the third grade law, and 29 of those 126 did participate in the summer of success, which was geared towards obviously improving reading skills of those students. And so just moving forward, of course, all scholars scoring below the 40th percentile in our MAP growth reading. We talked about Book Nook at our previous academic achievement committee, so that's one of the interventions. And all of our scholars who score below the 40% will get a high dosage of the Book Nook tutoring for this coming academic year, obviously with the hope that that 126 number is reduced for our upcoming school year. Aside from that, we did have some highlights on our early childhood education. Just pointed out that we served about 535 early childhood students this past academic year, and we just went and broke down really where the early childhood classrooms were throughout the district by quadrant. And I think for the most part, that really summarizes the things that we talked about at Academic Achievement Committee, but I would suggest if you want to go a little deeper, definitely read through the brief that Dr. Lovelady Mitchell shared, and if you have any questions, obviously send them to the both of us, and we'll do our best to make sure you get everything you need. I guess that's the end of my report.
Any questions for Ms. Ross? Next, we have our Finance Committee.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met in June, and we started our committee meeting with an overview of our ESSER funds. And we're reminded that throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, Grand Rapids Public Schools received 16 different grants to support the district through the pandemic. All except 3 of those grants are expended, and our ESSER 2 funding must be expended by September 30th of this year, 2023. We were on target and probably have expended those by June 30th of 2023, or just last month. That particular grant, the ESSER 2 funding, was in total $32.9 million, and it had 12 allowable uses. We also were permitted to supplant, which allowed us to move some general fund expenses to the ESSER 2 funding, allowing us to adjust up our fund balance. We were also reminded that ESSER 3 has a use-by deadline of September 30th of 2024, so just over another year. We received $73.9 million through the ESSER 3. And some of the highlights of how we have used that investment in our district include significant investments in our mental health supports, including the hiring of a director and appointing 16 to 18 mental health therapists in our School Lions Foundation. So Ottawa Hills High School is receiving $20,000 for our football program. This grant will allow us to purchase new football equipment, protective gear, apparel, and training equipment. And that is incredible, but our football players also get to attend a preseason game, which I think is pretty exceptional. So a huge thank you to the Detroit Lions Foundation for their support of Ottawa Hills. That's my report.
Thank you. Any questions with regards to the report? Okay, no questions. We do not have an ad hoc facilities committee meeting report out or a policy committee report out. With regards to the city board liaison committee,
Don't we have a policy?
I want to share a few highlights. That meeting was on Wednesday, July 12th, and that was attended by the Mayor Rosalind Bliss, Commissioner Nathaniel Moody, Commissioner Melinda Yasasis, as well as City Manager Mark Washington. And in that report, they shared with us that the city had received some state funding with regards to Blandford Nature Center, so they can make some improvements and changes there. The city reported that these were funds that were going to go support projects that would have normally gone unfunded. So these are not discretionary funds. They were assigned for that particular purpose. They uplifted as well with regards to safety concerns that homicides in the city have been down so far. In the month of May, there was 1 homicide. In June, there were 0. And they believe that the efforts around preventative measures as well as mental health supports throughout the city have been helpful in bringing those numbers down. And they were really excited about that because normally it is those summer warm months that those numbers go up. And we went through May and June with just 1. So that was wonderful news to hear. We also talked about the relationship with the city around our public transportation use and how we can work together and work with city police officers to make sure those larger gathering spots are being properly manned, as again, those spots are not just spots where our scholars attend, but students from all over the city of Grand Rapids. And so just talked about some different safety measures that we can look ahead to do to make sure that those gathering spots stay safe and incident-free. We also talked about potential partnerships with the city with regards to public housing and affordable housing throughout the city. As we go through our facilities master plan, we know we will have some buildings that will be coming offline, and we just really lifted up the idea about partnering with regards to those facilities. And then lastly, they wanted us to share that the Kent County Health Department is giving out water filters. So any families in the city of Grand Rapids or in Kent County that needs water filters, they are trying to do that because we know we have a lead problem and we want to be on the front end of that. So they asked us to lift that up as well. And then lastly, we talked about our joint use agreement. There's still some conversation as to where we are with that, some finalization of the language, but it is moving along with the work of Dr. Roby and Mr. Washington. Anything you would like to add, Dr. Roby?
I think you covered it.
All right, wonderful. So that would be the City Board Liaison Committee. And next we have our Superintendent's Report.
Good evening, everyone. And so I will first invite our president and CEO of the GRPS Foundation, Ms. Stephanie Andrews, to come forward. She's going to give an update as to what's taking place with the foundation and what we can look forward to in the 23-24 school year.
Thank you. Good evening, Superintendent, Board of Education. It's good to be here. I've been here before talking about it's our 30th anniversary, so wanted to just share a couple of highlights as we've finishing out the school year in partnership with you all. Just highlighting 30 years of what we've done kind of to support the scholars of GRPS. 1, playgrounds, field trips, robotics program, great sports, great kids, everything to do with physical and mental, physical wellness. Additional help with museum school, teacher employee appreciation, internet during COVID, graphing calculators, and library refreshes, are just to name a few things that we've done. So I'm really excited to share that we are going to be meeting as our board, and then additionally, we'd love to have a collaborative meeting with more GRPS team, staff, parents, and others as we say, what is the next 30 years of the work that we do? We've had the same pillars for more than 10 years for the foundation, and we know that as you guys are reimagining where GRPS is going, we want to make sure that we're right alongside of you and what are the needs of the scholars and how are we trying to meet them. So some of the things that we're looking at is how do we create a framework that kind of takes us through the next 1 to 3 years, but something that we also can every year go back through and say, are these things aligned? Are we meeting the needs of the students as so many things change all the time? Just this last year, in terms of what we've funded as the Adopt a School program with the Teresa Weatherall Neal Principals Fund, we did send out over $28,000 to each different schools across GRPS. Not every school did apply, but those that did were all approved, and we funded so many great programs and opportunities for principals to do really unique things with their students. Mitten Coat Hat Drive, which we hope to bring back this next year as needs come up. the formal gown giveaway, which I know is a really positive opportunity for young women at the schools to really get a chance to go to their formal event. Teacher appreciation support, and we raised over $800,000 for scholars this year. So I really appreciate all of your support. You guys continue to show up time and time again, not only for the scholars, but also for our events to help us fundraise. And our next event is Foundation for the Future, so hopefully you have it on your calendars, October 12th. Would love for you to host a table if you're interested. And we look forward to sharing our updated framework with you as we then also get your input on it as well.
Any questions? Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Our next report, I'm going to invite Mr. Larry Johnson down, and he'll give an overview. As many of our community is aware, we have a long-standing partnership with Dean Transportation, and we have wanted to continue to strengthen that relationship and also provide an opportunity for Dean, Mr. Kelly Dean and his team to share what their strategic strategy is and also how they will continue to be responsive to the needs of our community as it changes and evolves. And so with that, I'm going to let Mr. Johnson take it over, and then we'll invite Mr. Dean and team down.
Okay. Good evening, President Williams, Superintendent Dr. Roby, other distinguished board members. Tonight, we're going to introduce to you Mr. Kelly Dean and his team from Lansing, his regional team, and his local team here, who will go over just some of the strategies that we've been looking at and working with them to improve on the performance, look for areas of growth, and just some of the exciting things we believe will happen and will greatly improve the service that we provide to our young scholars. As you know, we've heard from our community loud and clear about some of the challenges we've had with on-time transportation, and so we've had an opportunity to sit with Mr. Kelly Dean. They've been very responsive to our meetings, and looking forward to continuing the relationship, but more importantly, looking forward to being able to respond to, listen to our scholars, their families, our staff, in terms of how we can continue to grow together to be a premier transportation company that they are here for us. And so without further ado, I will invite Mr. Kelly Dean down and his team. He can introduce his team, and they'll have a presentation for us and then give you an opportunity to ask some questions.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this wonderful invitation. This is rare that we have this chance to speak to school boards at whatever district we're in, and this makes this very special because we have a lot that we want to share with you about what we see the future this coming year. So, Ms. Williams, President Williams, thank you so much for having Dr. Roby. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Johnson, and all the staff who've continued to work with us here tonight. We intend to address with you very clearly just what we are going to do to overcome late buses. We know it. The pandemic has been very hard. It has been very difficult, and we'd like to show you what we're doing. I'm very excited about, we are seeing a influx, a growth in applicants here most recently, which is great. And so our intention is to get ourselves back to 2019 standards when we were fully staffed. And we're going to show you that tonight. We're also, as we've heard from you and community members, we think that we're good communicators, but we want the chance and opportunity to reach out to the community. We are going to offer to you and the administration's guidance here to have regular meetings with the community, regular meetings with parents. We stand ready every day with you're going to hear about our phone system that is open to answer all the questions that are out there, and we'd like to have open houses at our office. Folks need to come and see the great staff, the absolutely great staff we have at Dean Transportation, who have been working diligently to provide the highest level of service that we can. So I really appreciate this, and I've been looking forward to this great anticipation. So I probably want to start, if I can, I just would like to put some names, the faces, just real quickly. Now, we know that we have 10 minutes, so we're gonna move as fast as we can, and please stop us if we do too much, but this is important to us. To my immediate right is Mr. Bruce Grant. He is our general manager. He is our guy here who is loyal, dedicated. He has well over 30 years of transportation experience here with Grand Rapids Public and other great experience like the Rapid. Lisa Pearson is here. Lisa, would raise your hand. She is our assistant manager, handles day-to-day operations. She also is just the best, and who's not here tonight, but Stacy Hardiman, who is handles the technology. You have one of the most advanced technical systems, the way that you provide us names, addresses, phone numbers, student names, all those things. Of all of our dean operations, Stacy handles that. Combined between Bruce, Lisa, and Stacy, they have almost 100 years of transportation experience. So they are the best. Kevin Harkness is to my far right. He is our regional manager, of an experienced person in our industry. He's in charge of our Kent operation, Kent County operation. You may know that we provide special education transportation for the entire Kent ISD. All 20 school districts, and we've been doing that now for almost 25 years. This is our 18th year here in Grand Rapids Public Schools, and so it has been tremendous. We also service Sparta, Cedar Springs, and Kent City here within the county for their general ed. You'll see we have about 100 school districts across the state of Michigan. We're only in Michigan for a reason. We're letting the other folks get bigger. We want to do things the best. I want you to meet Brian Thrasher. Brian's a 30-year veteran with me, University of Michigan Business School graduate, handles all of our overall operations and business services. Brian's incredibly loyal, very involved in this particular contract. To my left, Christopher Dean. Chris is my son. We aspire to be a family business. Chris is a Michigan State trained engineer. He handles all of our technology, and he's going to present tonight on just what our future is going to be. Who's not here is my other son, Patrick Dean. Pat went off and got an MBA at Notre Dame, and tonight he is with U.S. Senator Gary Peters. We're working on very high-level school bus safety regulations, like how to eliminate all these cars passing our red lights across the nation. So Pat's working. Bob Bullock is with us today. Bob is in the back. Bob is retired school administrator, is helping on our operational end, specifically on this contract. I want you to meet Mr. Jim Prang, our overall fleet manager. Jim looks after all of our yellow school buses, almost 1,800 vehicles that he serves and takes care of. And Dwayne Harris with it. Dwayne is on the ground. Dwayne is here regularly as our regional manager working with our fleet technicians. A very important part. Who's not here, and I wish I would have invited him, but we're going to have an open invitation to come and see them, our Grand Rapids Public School Dean office personnel. I asked to have this counted, and when you look at all the individuals who are behind the phones, behind the microphones, or doing the routing, the dispatching, setting up field trips, and training, and on, we have over 275 years worth of collective knowledge base in the Grand Rapids Public Schools to help support the district. I would be remiss if I just didn't say that it is just so clear to us that our employees are parents of Grand Rapids students. Many of them are alumnus of the school district. They're grandparents with kids here in the school. They're retirees that purposely came to work here in the district, want to work within Grand Rapids Public Schools to make a difference, and on. And they're a wonderful bunch, and we're going to invite you over. So thank you for all the team for taking the time to come here today. As I started out, I'd like to, certainly, I'm going to offer that we consider ourselves a partner with the school district in a lot of ways, and I want to show you, since we've never really had this opportunity, but we take our responsibility seriously, and you're going to see what we're working on to get us to the 23-24 school year. You need to know that you have a very sophisticated and complex school district. You're going to hear you got 42 schools, you got theme schools, We got a lot of places to be. And then you throw in field trips and sports and so on. And this is just coming off of the tragedy of the pandemic. So working on it. The first 5 years that we were here, and you're going to hear a little bit of financial background here, I'd only want to just point out is that this has been such a labor of love and a commitment for us, and we want to continue. The business manager at the time, Ms. Lisa Freiberger, reported that we saved the district in the first 5 years $19.5 million in operational reorganization. And you're going to hear that even though with the driver shortage, there has been a savings here over the last 3 years, and be reported by Brian Thrasher. It's been extreme, and we're going to show you just the challenges. So let me just we're going to quickly, you should have a copy of our handouts, and hopefully you got electronically, and we brought extra ones if you need them. We'll provide these to anyone. Our history is pretty simple, is that I'd want you to know that we have a 60-year history. And for me, it's 37 years. I'm a trained Michigan State educator, MSU teacher. Started my career, my best job ever as a parapro at the Beekman Center in Lansing, which is sister school of Lincoln. Best job I ever had. Then I finished my education at Michigan State, and went on and got a master's degree in education, been an administrator, helped launch the Special Olympics here in Michigan, and a number of things. And really, God put me in the right spot. I'm really pleased. But we are as a family business, our intention is to have the highest level of training and the highest level of technical opportunities with our district, and we're going to show you that. We don't go around saying this very often, but here's my chance to show. I'd want you to know that not once, but 3 times in the last 20 years, we've been named the top school bus company in America. For us in our industry, that's a big deal, and they're all listed there, and that's because of the great employees that work within our operations. So our history is there, and there's more on our website. Our training, next page is our hallmark. This is what we set out to do. We want to be the best. We want to take care of kids. We want them to be safe. We want to have a secure ride. We want the drivers to have the greatest knowledge level. So we have such unique things, such as we've established a learning management system. Every one of our employees has some kind of a learning iPad or a phone application where they can access an electronic learning management system. We have monthly communications, if not more, and we're continuing to further expand that. That was certainly an offshoot of being able to reach them during the pandemic. Item number 3, we have a proprietary healthcare course that all of our drivers and parapros receive. It is established by Lansing Community College, but we teach it statewide. I'd want you to know that our regular education drivers get 150 hours of deemed non-proprietary work beyond the state of Michigan. That's significant. And our special education staff receive over 200 hours of additional staff beyond what the state of Michigan requires. We believe that's important. We're training things in crisis prevention, intervention, autism awareness, trauma and adverse care, ACEs awareness. These are things that are all going on behind the scenes to make sure that we're doing the best job we can for kids. Next slide is I want to just show you that this is one of our challenges, and the analogy I use often to our staff, there's a lot of good jobs out there that we're competing against. We had folks that could, with their credentials, they can go work at Amazon, they could be delivering boxes for UPS and everywhere else. We don't want them to do that. They come to us to work at Dean for a purpose. But this roadmap that here describes this is that you could probably go into Home Depot and get hired and start tomorrow and get a paycheck, okay? To hire a school bus driver, it takes us 6 weeks. So it's not an overnight, and you'd want us to do this. We have to start with FBI fingerprint checks. We have to do active background checks. We have to contact previous employers. We need to do a personal interview. They have to pass a physical exam. They have their drug and alcohol regulations, requirements, random throughout their career, and on and on. And then we get into theory, then the road test, then our policy and procedures. It's going to take us 6 weeks, and that's our challenge. I would want you to know that it is never changed for us. It takes us 100 applicants to find 10 that pass. So we get excited about all these applicants. We know that only 10% are going to pass. So right now, we need well over 1,000 applicants to get the 100 or so people that we need within the company. Maybe it's closer to, so it is not an easy task. We hire very, very special people. I just want you to know about, again, I told you about the great office staff. We just had a very significant office staff training program where we talked about communication, phone etiquette, being polite, welcoming those individuals that may be upset. So we talked about empathy and de-escalation training. We talked about critical incidences. We have an accident, that critical incident's coming over a two-way radio into the office. They may have to call 911, they may have to dispatch emergency folks to assist. Office staff are running out the door literally to go and assist. There's a lot that our office staff have to know and be available, as well as the confidentiality, times management, and so on. They have to know all our policies and procedures. Many of our office personnel also have a CDL, and they have been driving regularly. Lisa and Bruce here now, over the last 2 years, have been driving regularly because of driver shortage. The intention of our Grand Rapids operation has been this: to not leave any kids. We were going to be late because we know we didn't have enough drivers and buses, but nobody was canceled. They never canceled a route. Never canceled a route. But they ran late because they got all the kids where they've got to be because of the shortage. That is very significant. It tells you the hearts and what they do. I'm gonna stop for a moment. I'm gonna turn to Bruce. He's our guy, and he's gonna tell you really the specifics on what this sophisticated, really complex school district you have and how that relates to transportation.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us here. And President Williams and Dr. Roby and all you other folks, thank you. And good to see you. All right. Yes, we do have a complicated system that goes from pre-K all the way up to 8. That's our general education group. And then we deal with the special ed group. And that group goes all the way up to some students are 27 years old. So we have a multitude of students that we serve. And our typical daily ridership is between 4,500 and 5,400 students. And that's daily that we move that many people around the Grand Rapids area, because we take them from the north to the south, to the east to the west. Wherever they need to be, we are getting them there. And then we deal with the students that are part of the McKinney-Vento program. And it's unfortunate for those guys. But we still make sure that we give them that service that they are entitled to get them to and fro. And sometimes the times that they have to get on buses, 5:45 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, until, unfortunately, on the regular route, 5:30 in the evening, that those students are on buses and getting home. And that's without the bus being late, but that's just the way that their transportation is set up because of that law. And then we transport all 42 of the GRPS schools, including 14 across the district theme schools. And one of them would be like WMCAT, STEM program. I mean, we touch every program. I heard you mention a program that the students are going to. We'll be transporting them, probably we'll be taking them there. And anytime they go to Michigan State or wherever they go, field trips take them up to Mackinac City and those kind of places. That's where this staff is taking those students for them to get their educational needs met. And then we transport over 2 million miles a year of the students in Grand Rapids Public Schools. So we do a pretty big task for making sure that those folks are getting there. And we have the field trips, I don't even want to call them field trips, but the sports trips, to make sure that we tie all those in. And the nightmare is when they want to go at 2:30 or 3:30. We're trying to get kids home from school. We'll get there as soon as we possibly can, but we don't cancel. We just let them know that we are going to be coming, and we'll come as soon as we possibly can. So that's the thing that we have to do, and we work diligently with all principals, secretaries, administrators, so that way we can make sure that we can provide and continue to improve as every day comes on. And I do get the occasional board member to call me, and I will say, we'll be there, School of Construction. We make it happen. So it may not look good right there, but we give it our best, and we usually get it worked out. Thanks again for having us.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to switch again, and this is one of our areas that we came tonight to talk about. That's what we're doing in recruitment, how we're doing for new applicant coming in, training that's going on right now. We're going to turn to Kevin Harkness and ask you to give us an update, Kevin, please.
Well, thank you again, and thank you for allowing us to present to you tonight. You've heard some of the challenges and some of the history. What I'm going to talk about are where we're going, how we're going to overcome some of that. And so if you look at this fall, we're projecting between 101 and 105 bus routes based on the final number of students we get through the download, which is still coming in. It usually takes most of summer to get in. In order to do that, we will be resizing our fleet to about 142 buses. With that said, the big issue is driver shortage. That is where we struggled. It wasn't really anything else other than the fact that we just didn't have the employees. But we've done a good job of recruiting, and I'm not going to sit here and break down every number. It's in writing here, but the long and short of it is, at this point in time, as we sit today, we have right around 111 drivers to cover 105 runs. So we are in good shape. With that said, we continue to recruit. We do have 9 people scheduled to interview, and that number is not accurate. You can add 4 to that because I scheduled 4 more this afternoon. So we're up to, 13 folks that will be interviewing. Now, as Kelly had said a few minutes ago, that doesn't mean all those folks will clear and come through, but even if we get a few of them, that will help. So we are definitely heading in the right direction with staffing. So the question is, how are we getting there? We are doing a lot of events, a lot of promotion. We've already had 2 hiring events. We have another hiring event this coming Saturday, and they have been very good to us. We've been averaging 10 to 15 people that come in, and out of those 10 to 15 people, again, we get 5 to 7 applicants that work through the system. We're promoting. We are on all these radio stations that you see below. We are on social media. We get a lot of earned media through our investments that we've made through some of the other advertising. You can see the MLive article that was just recently out about one of our hiring events. Our biggest thing is our staff incentives. Our staff is our biggest recruiter. And I'm not going to go through every one of these, but if you look, for instance, on the right here, the summer referral, what will happen is we'll go a 3 to 4 month period with this incentive, and if you're a staff member and you've turned in a lead for us and they've actually been hired and went through the system, you're in a drawing, and you get, in this case, a $5,000 summer essential package. And we do often do those sorts of things. We have Dean ambassadors who are employees that work for us that are out on the street. They'll go to the local farmers market, they'll go to the parade, they'll go to the fair that's in town or wherever, a lot of them go to athletic events, like what will be coming up, football games. They'll go and hand out popcorn at football games and recruit. So that's part of their responsibility. As I mentioned a minute ago, social media and radio promotion are a couple of our biggest items. If you flip to the next slide, you'll see the digital media. Again, I'm not going to read through those, but LinkedIn, Indeed, Google, Facebook, we're on all of them. Those are some of the current ads that are out as we speak. Those are updated. We do have a team back in Lansing that is headed by Patrick Dean, and they're updating this all the time. So that's kind of my last topic on recruitment, where we're going. Again, things are going in a very positive direction, and we will hopefully continue to hire, even as the school year comes to the beginning. So we're doing well with recruitment, and hopefully, again, that these folks, as Kelly had said, it takes 6 weeks to get people through. So our hope is that they are ready to go by the beginning of the school year and beyond. So the next thing that I want to go over with you is just some of our positive student management and safety. And this will be the last slide. What we are trying to do is partner with Grand Rapids Public Schools to have the safest, most reliable, not only employees, but also children. We know we want them to follow the Scholar Resource and Responsibility Guide. We want to make sure they're well behaved. We want to make sure our staff is doing the right thing to make it safe for everyone. We all know that safety is a paramount here at Grand Rapids Public Schools. We've met often with Mr. Johnson, talking about what we can do to improve and how we can improve it. Currently, we have a proposal out there to add 20 camera systems, so it'd be 20 buses with 4 cameras apiece, HD cameras, remote view, you can log right into them. That would be available to, again, whoever Mr. Johnson would deem fit at the school to deal with that, and obviously our staff. And that would also just allow us to help with any issues that arise on the bus. Again, whether it's student or staff related, we can police that and help Grand Rapids Public Schools in that area. So with that said, it's now my pleasure to turn it over to Chris Dean, who's going to go ahead and talk about some of our technology pieces.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present this evening. I serve as our Director of Innovation focused on our fleet and technology initiatives. I'm pleased to share that for this upcoming school year, we are prepared to deploy additional vehicles in support of our traditional yellow and black school buses. So specifically, those would be 3 commercial passenger vehicles, as shown on the screen here, Ford Transit, Ram ProMaster, or similar. These vehicles we would use in support of yellow and black school bus to do extracurricular and athletic trips, McKinney-Vento transportation, or one-on-one special ed routes as needed. I will share that this specific vehicle type is in extremely high demand post-COVID. It continues to be very tight. So we do expect to launch 3 this school year, but do think there will be additional opportunities to deploy more throughout the fall and into the next calendar year. So we're going to start with 3, but have our eye on more than that as soon as the market opens and we can obtain more. Regardless of the vehicle type, the GRPS fleet is one of the most well-equipped, technologically advanced fleets. That starts in the office with our digitized routing software that integrates with the district student information system. And that system also essentially talks with our telematics system. So we know where the buses are, where they've went, what they've done in between. And of course, for those individuals who ride our special education transportation system, we have vehicles equipped with lifts, air conditioning, securement systems, anything required for those students to ride safely and securely per an IEP. And I'm most pleased to share here that we're going into our 4th school year of the Here Comes the Bus application. So that Here Comes the Bus application allows parents to sign up for the application and essentially follow their student's school bus and receive alerts when it arrives close to their home stop. So not only does it provide GPS tracking on someone's cell phone, computer, or any device, but it also allows us a direct line to communicate with parents or anyone who signs up for the app. And then as Kevin alluded to, our onboard camera system proposal. And finally, one of the most exciting things, and I'd love the opportunity to present on this more in the future, but the next round of the 2023 Clean School Bus Program grant funding applications are due in August. We've been working on our transition, or preparing for our transition from our current diesel units to electric, and we are prepared and will submit a grant application that includes Grand Rapids Public Schools to deploy several fully electric school buses in the next few years. Unfortunately, the status of that is purely dependent on grant funding, but we absolutely have been working for several years now to put together strong research and development. I'm leading that team along with our fleet team on behalf of Grand Rapids Public Schools. So in addition to that, we're just finishing a grant through the Michigan Mobility Funding Platform, working with a leading EV company that helps model our transition from our ICE engine, our internal combustion engine, to our electric unit. So we're pleased to do that behind the scenes, all on behalf of Grand Rapids Public Schools, and hopefully we look forward to putting together a grant application so we will have fully electric units on the ground here in GRPS in the next few years. So obviously, with any transportation system, clear, consistent communication is extremely critical. So I'll just hit on a few of the communication points here. Our transportation office phones are live and fully staffed from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. We have bilingual staff who are available to help those who may have English as a second language. And by design, our dispatch phones do not go to voicemail. So when someone calls the office, if the specific phone can't be answered, it'll cycle through other phones, so someone will receive a live person on the other end to answer their question. Now, that goes without saying, our supervisors do have voicemail, so if someone's asked to speak with the supervisor, they're able to leave a voicemail. We utilize automated calls such as robocalls. Very important thing that we continually work with the district on is just receiving the right parent contact information, because if we put out a robocall and unfortunately don't have the right phone number, that's not being received on the other end. And that also, touch on a moment, again, here comes the bus. Its primary use is for parents to track their child's school bus and receive alerts. Secondarily, and perhaps just as equally as important, is our ability to message folks. Last school year, we sent out over 1,000 messages via the app. That's push notification and emails to individuals regarding various things. Right now, we're only reaching 14% of eligible riders. So it's our absolute plan to continue working with the administration on how we promote that. We'll continue to promote it, post materials online, do whatever we need to do to make that as valuable as tool as possible. And to that end also, we have a dedicated support team. So if a parent calls the office and has a question about Here Comes the Bus, they can select a prompt, and there are 3 people on the other line that will specifically answer questions about the app and its use in helping folks get signed up. So from a communication standpoint in the office, that's extremely critical. I'll turn it back over here to our communication plans with the community.
Thank you, Chris. Let me go ahead and cover this, and then you guys might want to let Brian come up here. He's going to join us next here. So under our slided community, I'll be brief because I mentioned some of this before. Our objectives from Dean to the community, the district, you as board members, is that we will offer to you to attend any and all school board meetings. A representative of this group that's here tonight would be here to answer any parent questions or concerns they have. Could be routing, could be something that may have perceived that needed to be changed. So we stand ready to do that if you so approve that. We also, there is a Transportation Advisory Committee. Bruce and Lisa would be working together on, and Kevin, we want to continue to make that a very high level way that we can reach the district on any concerns in planning communication. We'd also like to suggest propose regular parent meetings that can be established. What I would love to be able to see is meetings at our office, which the address is Union Avenue, where our school buses are housed, where your operations center is housed, and we'd love to have an open house. We'd love to have you come through, have you as a board come through. We'd like to have the community come through, kind of a window to see what really goes on behind the scenes. All the technology we've talked about, there is a hustle and bustle that goes on constantly throughout this office. We are renters there, but we've made major commitments ourselves just to improve the quality of the workplace for our employees there, improve bathrooms, and we've invested in the parking lot and some other areas there, and we'd welcome that level of open house and communication. So whatever it takes, we're standing ready. This next page, I'm going to ask Brian Thrasher as our CEO to address, in that we have some suggestions that we want the board to know about, and also for administration that will take further discussion beyond tonight, but we think it's important to know. So Brian, would you thank you to the highlights of our metrics that we've been asked to provide.
Yeah. President Williams, Dr. Roby, members of the board, thank you as well from myself, just for our opportunity to present to you. I want to be respectful of your time. We know we're up and over 10 minutes here a little bit, but just wanted to provide maybe some brief context in the last 3 years. I mean, just there's a lot of talk of the 100-year pandemic, and a lot of industries have been affected in so many different ways, and ours is no different. We know that we just want to be here to support the district and the challenges that you're going through. And on our end, I think it's one of the things as we look back over this period. Just as a point of context, in the overall scope, we're seeing that the system is down roughly $8.1 million. And again, that's to provide kind of just the magnitude of what this has meant the last 3 years here. And I think one of the things we wanted to provide as well is that is included, and really, from our perspective, that's been an intent. Our intent has been just a commitment to the district that as we've stepped through this and are navigating together what the changes have been to the system, with the changing needs of the district. Obviously, from our perspective, there's been labor challenges that we're trying to overcome. We know with the district looking at programming and student shifts, there's been a lot of moving parts here. But along the way here, this past year, we started out of the gate with our commitment as 100% discount on any reduction. And when we measured that, our context is that 3 years ago, things that seemed like our normal world that we were all working through together, we're almost 20% off of that when we look at the overall service days. And so we know that that's just part of our live time working with your entire team here, is re-envisioning the system, what you need it to be, what it needs to be successful for the students and the families of Grand Rapids Public. But it's a much different system than what we all envisioned together back in March. And I think the other thing, we just thought a couple of data points you might find interesting, is that the same buses, the same equipment that just 3 years ago looked like $100,000 pieces of equipment are now 125 to 130, sometimes as high as 155. The contract that we went through, we were very proud 3 years ago to offer reduced rates in some instances, and really look hard to find new efficiencies in the systems and the services that we could provide. And a CPI back then, we can all kind of shake our heads, but our CPI back then at 5.5% that we collectively negotiated in the contract, and now we compare that to the reality of it being 15.5%, and at the same time, we've gone through on our own end, and we've on average increased the starting scale for our drivers and our parapros by almost 18%. So we just thought we'd share those, because those are pieces that certainly 2.5 to 3 years ago, none of us would have pretended to be able to envision what this would look like now. As we look forward, most importantly, some of the areas that we'd really welcome the opportunity to work with the administration on is first and foremost, utilizing some of the new technologies. I mean, Chris has just done a great job leading that technology charge. And so what we'd like to do is just continue to fine tune the GPS analytics that we're already using, the data tracking, and use that as a way to more proactively identify areas where there are challenges, maybe at certain buildings or certain parts of the transportation system, those stress points in the system, because we recognize that those stress points really represent at their fundamental value points of stress for families, because whatever that means, whether it's the bus isn't there when they anticipated it, or a team is waiting for a vehicle to show up, we recognize all of those pieces and the critical nature that those represent. So our real want here is to turn that into objective points that we can use to proactively identify where those points are and pivot even more quickly. Of course, that's the biggest piece for us that makes us successful, is as we continue to build back to the full staff. The other pieces that go right along with it is working collaboratively with the district on establishing those run targets when it's appropriate to expand service or to help the district re-envision building locations, logistics times, help us do as good a job as we can to communicate what the best options are for the district, as well as measuring some of those more those more historical metrics, right? I mean, the school bus inspection rates. Obviously, the entire fleet goes through them. Michigan State Police inspections every year. But our other safety factors that we're very proud of, as Kelly alluded to, we invest a lot in our training. I think from our perspective, and FedEx is a great company, but they're delivering packages, and we're transporting children, and we take that seriously. And so these hundreds of hours, there's not just things we talk about. And one stat that we look at is when we look back years ago and studied different at-fault injury rate DOT accidents, it's one thing. None of us we don't like accidents. We don't like a tail swing and scraping a car, because whoever car you scrape, they had a bad day. But for us, the most important thing is the safety of our kids and the community and the people. So we track that data seriously. When we look at our at-fault injury rates for DOT accidents, where the industry standard might be 1.9, we looked back over the last 3 years where we traveled 51 million miles, and ours was 0.14. And so the fact that we were operating 8.5 times better than injury. Those are the types of things we take pride in, because safety counts first and foremost. So I'll leave it at that and turn it back over to Kelly.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I'll let I'll conclude. Thank you for your patience with us. As I said in the beginning, it's rare that we get this opportunity, and so we wanted to make the best of giving as much information as we can, and we look forward to following up. We talked about, I say it regularly, Bruce will attest to this, is that I don't want Dean to be just any old yellow bus company. There are a lot of yellow bus companies out there. I want us to be different, and Grand Rapids gives us a great example of how we can be different. I want us to be involved in the community. I want us to be involved in Grand Rapids activities. To be not, so for example, you know, I already know as a private citizen, we will help support the bond campaign. I've been involved in every bond that you've had since I've been here. And we were ready again. It's important. When Stephanie and the Grand Rapids Foundation calls, we say yes. We're involved in, here's a nice picture of a mind share. We gave out an award. We've been involved in the turkey trot and the luncheon programs and on and on. Our employees, independently, our employees put a float in the JC Parade at Christmas every year. And it's Grand Rapids Public Schools, not Dean, it's Grand Rapids Public School. It is so cool. That's what we're about. In the rest of my life, the teacher in me, I'm chair of the Lansing Promise Scholarship. I've talked to Dr. Weatherall Neal to say I'm ready to help in any way that we can, because those Promise Scholarships are important. We did historical black college tours to help kids get to those opportunities. For years, we've taken students to Michigan State on campus tours and so on. That's Dean. That's what makes us different. That's why we do what we do. And again, that's the update, Dean, and who we are. But we know, to go back to the beginning, we're making every effort to overcome these late buses. We need to get ourselves past this pandemic. We need to continue to recruit, and optimistic guy, I believe that we can do that. And we're going to do it on your behalf, and we will be available for communicate with the parents, the community, wherever we can, and make the system back to what we want it to be. So thank you to our team for presenting tonight, and thank you for this special opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Colleagues, questions?
I did have one question. Thank you for joining us this evening. Well, first I want to say, as a former GRPS employee myself, I struggle with the transportation needs of our students. And this update has been really insightful, and I appreciate you coming to present. I appreciate you sharing with us all the, innovations that you're doing, all the things that you're doing to reach out to the community. I appreciate that. A question I had about the applicants. So you said it takes 100 applicants to find 10 that may pass. And I'm wondering what's the largest fallback in some of those applicants, or why, what are a lot of the, one of the biggest factors that might diminish that applicant pool. So
Thank you, great question, and thank you for your comments. When it would been easy during the pandemic to change our hiring standards, we didn't do it. We said, no, that's our standard, that's who we are, a private business, we have to be the best. So number one there would be their driving records, their overall driving record. We're looking for a near perfect driving record. Mm-hmm. So, if a person had 4 or 6 points in their license, we would probably wouldn't interview them, okay? We look at their history of driving. Unfortunately, in this day and age, drug and alcohol, particularly marijuana, has dropped folks out. We're under federal regulations, so we're required that marijuana is not a legal substance, or any oils and so on related. Our employees are trained that they are not able to use them.
That was one of my next questions too, so thank you for covering that as well.
Yeah, and sometimes a criminal background in there. So those they're different, but those are the highlights. What would likely not allow the person to come and get an interview.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just a quick question. I'm really excited about this idea of an open house sort of piece to allow, families, staff, teachers, whomever to come by. I'm just wondering, how do you plan to get the word out for that? Have you scheduled opportunities for that yet, or what?
We haven't scheduled anything yet. We wanted to be here tonight and make sure that the district, since we work for the district and work for you, make sure that's all coordinated. So it would be something that we would want to do soon, like before school starts, so we can get the word out and however best communicate that. And I'm excited about having something at our office there or maybe a designated area. So we'd like to talk with the district and to do something preschool. You know, we have many staff, Bruce, you help me here, that are going to be going, they have already gone to kindergarten roundups. They're going to go to meetings, school opening, and so on.
Yes.
Yep.
And the one thing that you should understand is that we don't lock the doors. If we see you coming, come on in, come on. We want you to see how the operation is that you have us doing so that you understand, because that's the best way for you to also explain to the parents that we are working for the betterment for all. So anytime you want to come, just pop on in. I'm not scared. Come on. We'll take you. Not a problem.
My last question, one, probably you may have to just follow up on that. I'm curious to understand more how the cost savings that you reference, just understand more about how those are calculated. Again, I don't necessarily need that right now, but maybe you could just forward some elementary sort of numbers so that we could just get a better understanding of how we get to these numbers here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess one other thing, though, 100% discount on 19.1% post-pandemic service. Can you expound on that 100% discount on 19? I'm not really understanding that.
Yeah, it is at its simplest level, and that's, I think, part of a summary we can provide too, is that just the pricing structure of our contract is such that we are providing invoicing to the district based on each individual day. We follow the calendar of the run, the vehicles that are in service, and built into those daily costs of each run are also the spare ratios and the local site staff and the facility and everything that goes with that. So if we're operating, and that's been part of our challenge, if we're operating at plus or minus 100 runs, if we roll back the clock 3 years, we're anticipating a system that was about 126 runs. So the fact that that system is off by about 20%, when you reverse that.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did I hear, hi, did I hear you say that you would like to have a representative here during some board meetings to listen to parent concerns and kind of have some conversations with parents?
Yes.
Okay.
As
Because
long
that
as
was
you
one of my
would
questions.
approve such a thing, I just thought one of us who could answer, because I would think questions about a bus route and routing and so on, we've got experts here that hopefully we would be able to support the parents and get those questions answered quicker.
And also hear their stories. I think it's important that, I'm surprised we don't have a parent here today, because I don't think there's been a school board meeting that we have not heard stories. And I think it helps for you all to hear the stories of our parents and the concerns. And just want to uplift one Dean bus driver who did come and just speak on Dean's behalf. I wish I had her name, but I did appreciate her coming out.
Her name is Kim.
Kim.
Yes, she told me.
Yeah, and I did appreciate her coming out and just giving us another side of, another side of the story, or another way to look at what's going on with Dean. So, I just wanted to say that, and that I would love for y'all to be here sometime to just hear the stories of our families. And those parent meetings are an excellent idea.
And if I can, that would be why I say, if you could come and see the operation in itself, then you would understand and you would hear people dialoguing with parents who, they say we were at the bus stop when we showed the program and show, track the bus and everything, and it's like, yeah, the bus was there, and they say the bus never showed up, but it was there. And, unfortunately, you missed the bus, but our goal is to go back around and pick that student up and get them to school, because we want to make sure that they get there as well. So we're doing everything, and it would be wonderful for you to see that operation.
Is Dean represented at our open houses or at enrollment times at the schools?
Yes, ma'am.
And maybe pushing that app on some of our parents so they can see the little
Yes,
dot,
ma'am.
like a Uber coming towards them.
Yes, ma'am.
We've also talked about incentivizing it, because I know when the Here Comes the Bus app first rolled out, there was higher interest, and as with many things, it wanes, and so how to kind of reintroduce it moving forward. And what I will say is that I certainly appreciate the Dean team, Kelly and team, for being just responsive to some of the things that we have shared. Mr. Johnson, myself, and others have shared some of the ongoing concerns and how to be in solution. And when we asked, would that be an opportunity to come to board meetings to hear what our families, how our end users are experiencing the transportation system, and questions or concerns or frustrations, that they're able to hear it in real time. And he has said, yes, that they will do that. And so really appreciative of that. And then in addition to having some metrics around the on-time, how are we monitoring progress? And so we talked earlier this spring around what the concerns are, and then how to go to solution to show that we are serious about hearing our parents' voice. And so I do appreciate that, in our scholars' voice.
I will follow up with a question. We had some employees from Dean reach out to us as board members, asking for our support around some of their contract talks. And so I am just wondering if I was glad to see in your presentation that wages were up quite a bit. I'm wondering, were wage changes and benefits changes something that you reviewed to help around retention?
Yes, absolutely. And that is something that we've put in these metrics here that, we would be open for that further discussion, because it is very competitive. Brian, we're up to $23, and we have competitors that, in the industry that are paying up to 25. And so we think that's the mark, but that's something, again, we'd want to talk to the superintendent of the district relative to just how that would be.
And we understand we are not paying as high as some of our competitors as well, but we're just looking at other ways to see how we can incentivize and do some things to make our district more attractive. And so I would just hope, and I saw some of the information that you are doing some similar things, so to uplift that, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, colleagues?
I do have one more follow-up after you're hearing your question, President Williams, is, and maybe this is a conversation for I'll have to send you an email for follow-up, but obviously, healthcare is a huge issue in our country. People want to have good healthcare, and unfortunately, it is tied to our employment. Is that something? Do you offer comprehensive benefits such as those, or I guess I'm not sure exactly how it's set up as an employer relationship, but could you expand on that a little bit?
Thank you. Another great question. My history would prove out to be that some of our consultants over the years told me I should get away, not offer health care because it was so expensive. And so what I do, I added on another plan. So I have 3 plans that they can offer that are all PPACA, they're all Obamacare approved plans. The name you'd recognize would be Priority Health. So they offer individual, double, and full family. I also have health, I have optical, I have dental options. We have a 401k plan with a match. We have personal time, and I call it my well-rounded plan. I can't offer everything because we have to, manage the budget, but we do offer a well-rounded opportunity, and we have folks that will come to us just to access the health care.
Okay.
We do have a good number of retirees, and we frankly have established another plan, which you call our B plan, which is they can opt out of the benefits and get a higher wage per hour. And that has been quite successful, particularly retirees that already have care. But we have a full blown human resource department. Our manager there is Michigan State trained in industrial labor relations and so on, and works with, along with myself, with our our unionized employees. We have two unions within the operation, very respectful, and we work well together. So, but we do offer a range of benefits.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you for your time.
We'll look forward to hearing from you the next steps. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and so our final report under the superintendent's report is actually an update of our district strategic plan. As many of our community members are aware, we have a live strategic plan that is a living, breathing document, which is 2 years or so in the making, and it is a culmination of various surveys and focus groups and conversations that we have embarked upon. And within that, we have evolved into a healing criteria. Dr. Lovelady Mitchell, who is our deputy superintendent, is going to walk through the healing criteria and make those links right back to our strategic plan with those specific themes around meeting the holistic needs of our scholars, optimizing school values, ensuring equitable access and outcomes, enhancing curriculum and program opportunities, being good stewards of resources, valuing and in cultivating and engage more impactful workforce. And so again, the healing criteria is how we are operationalizing the long, rich history of our district, tying it to how we imagine where we want to be, and to make sure that it's framed in those 6 tenets. And so what our commitment as a district, as a board, as a leadership, is to make sure that people don't think that the work that we are doing is living in isolation, but certainly tying it back to, these are the 6 priorities of areas of growth that we are measuring ourselves against, and listening in real time to what our scholars, our staff, our building leaders, and our community are offering as real-time feedback. And Dr. Lovelady, I'll let you take it from there and
Okay.
join in and answer questions as you go.
Thank you. Good evening, President Williams, Dr. Roby, and esteemed trustees. And as Dr. Roby said, the facilities master plan is an extension of our strategic plan. And while engaging in the work of the facilities master plan, we have been able to listen more deeply, and I would say even differently, to the folks who are enrolled in GRPS, work in GRPS, and or are affiliated with GRPS. And while they have been able to highlight some of the beautiful things that happen in GRPS, and examples would be some of the text that you see or images that you see on the screen, in particular the fact that we offer one of the largest selections of schools in West Michigan, they also said because learning and teaching is about learning and teaching humans, and that we are a dynamic and changing system, that one of the things that we need to center is a healing repair criteria as we move deeper into the process. And so I know that you're familiar with some of the actions that are affiliated with how we've been talking about healing repair criteria. And tonight, I'm just hoping to lift up a couple of examples related to how it maps with our strategic plan, as Dr. Roby talked about. And one of the things that I want to start with is by, again, just echoing how our partners have been so critical to this whole process. And let me slow down and just say this. I am proud to work in a district that allows us to critically examine ourselves and not hide anything, the great, the bad, the ugly, but critically look at ourselves in the name of, one, healing and continuing to be innovative. And in that essence, as our partners and scholars and caregivers have come to us, UCC, Urban Core Collective, and the Brigham Consultants in particular offered up this productive tension motto that I think is important in terms of how we frame this. And so I do want you just to look at this motto, because I think it is the perfect depiction of a polarity management in terms of being creative,
as well as being grounded in your reality and understanding that healing happens when you can look at the current and also reimagine, which is what we're doing. And so I would ask that you turn your eyes in particular to the bottom part of this tension motto, where it talks about, one, starting with your current reality, and two, being able to name the tension, as emotional as it may be, and acknowledging the creative tension and the structural tension, and then naming those things that might bring about tension or harm or concern. And again, I just want to illuminate that partners through our SPICE committee, which is I'm going to mess this up, strategic planning. I don't know why I went on to unpack that. The SPICE committee, we've heard about it before. I'll send you the actual acronym later. And surveys and town halls and lunch and learns and the Eureka report, folks have named the great things and the things that we need to pay more attention to. And again, that's why we're here to talk about the healing and repair criteria. But that cycle continues to talk about repair is needed. And so again, I'm going to share a couple of examples. And what I want to do is say, even as we think about some of the action items that you've heard me talk about before and the ones that are listed here as I map it, there are still some cross-cutting principles or things that emerge. And so a couple of those things are the principle of having safe, healthy, and healing schools. And inherent in that is that we are listening deeply and inclusively, and not only listening, but that we are integrating what we hear into our next steps. The next principle is that two-generation approach, which means that we are tending to our scholars, but also the systems whom support them, caregivers. And it also means that we're addressing the needs of scholars, but also the adults who staff our buildings. The Sankofa approach, which means being able to look back at everything that has happened and what we have learned and taking it forward. I also would just draw your eyes to that top quote that says, "The eyes of the future are looking back at us and praying for us to see beyond our time," because we hold both in the tension of, we know that the steps that we're taking in this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to maximize on $305 million impacts now. It pulls from what has happened previously, and it will touch generations to come. Understanding that it definitely is about our intention, but also about our impact and wanting it to be healing-centered and making sure that we are living out what we think is one of Dr. Roby's trademarks to be scholar-centric. And so with that being said, I'd like to turn to some of the examples that are affiliated with each strategic theme. And you'll notice that the font looks a little different, and that's because the ones in bold are the ones that I'm going to try to highlight tonight. I'm not going to go through everything, and this is just a sampling. So as you have heard, our strategic theme number 1 is meet holistic student needs. And so a couple of ways in which our healing repair criteria operationalize our strategic plan and the healing repair criteria is by expanding the services that we offer for physical and mental health throughout our district. And I'm happy to say that this is one of the action steps that we feel like is already in progress. Secondly, claiming and situating all schools to operationalize their theme of safe, healthy, and healing. And you've heard us talk before about, it is about having themed schools. It also is about honoring each school as a healthy, healing, and healthy school. I'm going to go on to the next page, and it's a continuation of strategic theme 1, but a couple other examples would be those last 2 bullet points, and I'm happy to say again that these last 2 bullet points are already in progress. Every school having a scholar advisory council and amplifying the role of PALs in quadrants. And so what you might also notice as we continue to talk about the healing repair criteria is that some of them fit under multiple strategic themes. I promise you I won't give you too many more examples, but I'll give you enough that you have a deeper understanding of what we're talking about. Optimizing and value all school options. Another example is we talk about the mirroring principle, meaning that we want to get to a point in our reimagining that scholars do not have to travel outside of their region to have access to highly relevant opportunities to learn. And so what's offered in the North region will be offered in the Southern region, which will help us in terms of our scholars not having to get up super early to travel to the other half to access quality programming. It also specifically means reinvesting in the Southeast Quadrant, which we have heard from our community about that, their concerns. And generally, it means reinvesting in our neighborhood schools. And again, I'm just happy to say that these are things that we feel like we've already made some progress in. Couple other things quickly on this page is offering the incentives to the Ottawa feeder pattern, which again is a way of operationalizing and the optimize and value all school options, and then making sure that we launch this school year our quadrant meetings in our school support meetings. I will give maybe 2 more examples and then I will pause for questions. Strategic theme number 3, ensure equitable access and outcomes. And again, you might see some bullet points under this one that you'll see in some of the other ones. But I think it's important for me to talk about the Reimagine app, which is something that internally we want to employ by targeting specific groups to ask what we are calling like a question of the day. So how engaging was curriculum today? Did you interact with a trusted adult today? How did you have a nutritious lunch today? How was transportation today? So we call that the Reimagine app, and I'm happy to say that that's in progress also. Last thing on this page, the second to the last bullet point, establishing model classrooms in each school. And so one program that I want to just lift up right now is we hear often that there's not a lot of high school participation related to environmental education or project-based learning in particular, which we think is false, but I want to amplify Union High School in Nicole Dorso's classroom in particular, whom I think is addressing real-world issues related to an urban food forest. She's starting with a small garden and working with partners related to issues around food insecurity and sustainability, and also talking about the different career pathways that are connected to that. I think that's a model classroom that we can amplify. So there are many more examples, 1 through 6. I know one that is important that you probably want me to highlight is as we talk about grow your own under strategic theme 5, we could highlight the repair criteria in terms of our deliberate strategic partnership with schools like Davenport, Michigan State University, or the entity Teach Michigan. That's helping us strengthen and bolster and retain our staff. And so all of this is being said and done in the name of, as we reimagine GRPS, how we continue to center equity and operationalize healing-centered engagement. It's mapped. So I'll pause and ask what questions or concerns might you have.
Thank you, Dr. Lovelady Mitchell, for this presentation. So something that came up kind of, excuse me, that came up during just our launch of the survey, talking about what next school year is going to look like, and something that kind of mirrors this work as well is what I hear from the community a lot is, you know, what are specifics surrounding this work? And I don't doubt that the work is happening. I appreciate you coming to present to us. But one thing that I see in the, you know, in this and then the strategic plan is just a deeper understanding for our community members to see what is that work going to look like, because we can say, oh, you know, we're going to decrease, you know, disciplinary actions for for students of color. How is that going to look like when? And so while I appreciate this, and I think this is amazing work that is, you know, gonna bring GRPS to another level, I also would like to see more specifics around, like, you know, how is this going to look like? Is this going to be part of, or are we waiting to see what the, you know, when the bond passes, how that's going to look like to more solidify some of these initiatives? Or, even some like the model classroom that can happen now, right? Like, how is that going to look like? Is it going to be happening within the next school year, in 2 years? So I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what you just said. There are many of the things that I talked about that might have been also tagged as in progress that we can point to right now, and I think it's just a matter of time, us continuing to communicate through our daily stories and our GRPS publications, like how we're doing that. But the other big piece that I think this initiative has brought out is people also want us to co-construct. And so continuing over time to sit side by side with people and talk about what does success look like. Because if you asked any one of our staff members, I think that we all could tell you what success looks like with any one of these. And that feels good, and yet it's still a miss, because I think the people have been asking us, how do we co-construct? And so whether it's through our quadrant meetings where we're interacting with our staff, and or through our Reimagine apps, or through our other two-way feedback type interactions, more of the details will be released in an iterative form, for the point of, if we answer now, just us, we still have missed some people in the co-construction piece. So I hear you. I think it's urgent, and I think it's coming, and I think we can still point to some things that we are engaged in just for the sake of doing what we think is best with scholars. But
Thank you.
that's how I would answer right now. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Lovelady Mitchell?
Kind of look, I don't know if this is a question, but I'm looking for community partnerships in here somewhere. And this is my first time seeing it. Was this in our email? I did not see
Different
this.
iterations
Okay.
of this have been shared out, but not in this way.
Oh, okay.
And so you're talking about community partners. We finished, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just looking for like where that fits in, and yeah, I'm looking for it in here.
Yeah, you know, I would love to revisit how that fits in, but I think certainly that's one of the ways that we hope to amplify PALs, because they're deeply connected, one with our caregivers, families, as well as community partners. So that's one way. But I think that even in the strategic planning process, partners were critical to it. And so I think it's laced in all of it, because even as we think about accessible instructional programming, we can act like the school day is it, but we know that after school programs and before school programs, and even how our community partners are laced throughout the day, it's all in there. So let us be more explicit with it as we continue to share out. But that's how I would answer right now.
I like to just see it more uplifted, because we do know that they are, a huge part of the day-to-day, and them not seeing it plain sometimes could, seem hidden.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think it's also to the point of how overt is it expressed, but it's also within the Reimagine plan too.
Yeah.
So it's just being very intentional about saying, it's here, and it might look different in different ways in which we're explaining the components, but it's definitely embedded within here, the community partner work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All righty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes my reports for the evening.
All righty. So we have some action items for this evening, and our first action item is the purchasing agenda. Are there any questions with regards to the purchasing agenda?
I'll motion for approval.
Second,
Please call the roll.
Melton is excused. Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ross? Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Ms. Wade? Davis and Mr. Eatman are excused. Ms. Lewis, yes. President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have our affirmation of the GRPS with us, affirm GRPS with us. Mr. Himholt, did you want to come and give a little explanation, and then we will take it to a vote from there? All right.
Dr. Roby, President Williams, members of the board. It's great to be back here before you to present the slightly revised version of the plan that we shared with you at the work session. Hopefully you'll see your fingerprints throughout there because we really incorporated the different changes, a little bit of wordsmithing, some photos, some reorganization of how we're presenting the information. I think it's really important. Julie, can I flip through this? Okay, good. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here, but I know one of the first things that what you had asked for was just to see an overall map that kind of shows, and so we've broken it down here. And you can see color-coded by neighborhood schools, theme schools, success centers, district facilities, a little cover letter from Dr. Roby, our table of contents. The one big switch here is that you had asked that we move the no tax increase bond opportunity and the reimagined plan itself up to the front, so that all the items that have informed this, and I think that's what's really important, and I loved Dr. Brandy's presentation about that healing criteria, because you're going to see that incorporated throughout this, and that is really what we heard dating back to the original GRPS transformation plan, the Cambridge report, but then more specifically from the 22-27 strategic plan. That feedback was incorporated and informed into this. You had then the facilities master plan that really stems from all 6 of the scholar priority outcomes. And then, of course, the work that Eureka Group did with her reimagined and community engagement work. As I just said before, these are all the different things that are really feeding into the overall reimagined plan. The idea behind the reimagined plan was to really take this information, put it front and center, so that the constituents, the scholars, your parents, caregivers, staff members, voters, taxpayers really see the thoughtfulness that went behind this plan and the incredible amount of engagement this district has done in the last 2 years. And that's just the beginning. As Dr. Roby states in her cover letter, this is just a start. This is the first iteration of what this reimagined GRPS With Us plan looks like. We know that the November 7th vote is going to be really telling, because there's an opportunity, one-time opportunity, to raise $305 million without increasing taxes. This is not a new tax rate. It's not a tax increase. It's an existing tax that the homeowners are paying, that was approved in 2004 and in 2015. And this is the investment that goes behind the reimagined plan. We said very clearly in here, there will be a need to close and consolidate and repurpose some of your schools. The reality is you do have too many schools and not enough students. You have too many schools, not enough staff. You have a historic staffing shortage that's not just related to GRPS. This is a state and national crisis. Michigan ranks dead last in the number of teachers that are graduating from colleges of education and going into the education industry. That's a 71% decline since 2006. And so in order to look at how do you help effectively address that shortage, is you're looking at your facility's footprint. You're at 51% capacity, so your buildings are about half full. And so there's opportunity to not only look at consolidating your staffing, which will address everything from classroom sizes to custodial maintenance, food service, grounds, all of these things will be positively impacted by some of the consolidation, and then it'll be fuel injected with this $305 million no tax increase bond. I'm not going to go through all this. This was the breakdown of how you're looking to invest the $305 million. Safety and security, educational investments and renovations for auditoriums, athletics, technology, playgrounds. These are all the things we heard through the different engagement, and so it's broken out here so that the voters and the taxpayers can see how the investments are being proposed. But again, these are also something that you as a board will have an opportunity after the vote in November to determine if there's needs to reprioritize, to get more specific on what schools may be impacted and how you look at those reinvestments. And then I'll just kind of mention here the culture. Almost everything that Dr. Brandy just shared is embedded in culture, academics, athletics, arts, after school and extracurricular. air quality, which we heard from our friends at Urban Core Collective, facilities, operations, transportation. You can see some of what Kelly Dean and his team were presenting on tonight is embedded right in your plan that you're being asked to affirm tonight. Safety and security. This is what we've heard clearly looking at survey data. This is a #1 issue for voters and taxpayers across the city of Grand Rapids. And then the repurposing of these facilities. This is an opportunity to look at a grow your own strategy where leveraging school district owned property for affordable housing for families, for staff members. It could even be used as a retention recruitment for teachers, support staff, school leaders. That's embedded in your plan. That's what we heard from the community. And I'm going to stop there because the rest of this is really just, it's highlights of the transformation plan, highlights of the leadership and transition, kind of pointing what you've gone through here that led up to the need to really reimagine GRPS. I'll stop there.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions with regards to the information that we have had a chance to review or the information John has uplifted? Hearing none, is there a motion to affirm the GRPS with us plan?
So moved.
Support.
Please call the roll. Ms. Ross.
Ross. Okay. Ms. Melton is excused. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Ms. Davis and Mr. Eatman are excused. Ms. Lewis, yes. President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Awesome. And then last, we have the authorization of the bond ballot language. You've all had a chance to review that in your packets. Is there any questions with regards to that language? If not, is there a motion to approve the bond ballot language?
So moved.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Melton is excused. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Ms. Wade? Yes. Ms. Davis and Mr. Eatman are excused. Ms. Lewis, yes. President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. And then next, we have to approve our consent agenda grouping. I do want to highlight that this printed form did not include the administrative appointments. However, our legal form that we are responsible, that was posted with board docs, does. And so we don't need to do an amendment, but I just want to bring that up to everyone's attention that it is literally missing on our printed form. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda grouping?
Motion to approve consent agenda grouping.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Okay, Ms. Melton is excused. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Mr. Davis and Ms. Davis and Mr. Eatman are excused. Ms. Lewis, yes. President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All righty. And then discussion items, board president's announcement. I'll remind you all of our retreat coming up on the 27th. Please avail your schedules. We would like to have all members attend. If possible, we are doing some wonderful work to get us to a place where we are moving forward in a productive fashion and really coming to a place where we are forming. And so I want us to continue that work as we know that a healthy board and a board that can work collaboratively together can have strong impact for our students and families. So see you on the 27th, and then we will go to public comments. We will have two people. I'll call you down, D. Jones and Miss Darlene, Dr. Darlene Lee. If you'll come down to the table while Kathy reads our instructions for public comment tonight.
Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. You will need to state your full name before providing your comment. We will then start the timer at the beginning of your public comment time and provide you with 1 minute notice. We will flag this red card at 1 minute. You will need to complete your comments upon being notified that 3 minutes have passed. Board members do not respond to public comment. Concerns will be brought to the attention of the appropriate staff. We value your input and thank you for sharing.
Mr. Jones.
I gotta say, 180 seconds is not gonna be enough. But I just gotta really laugh at that. But I'm just here because I came back from Las Vegas after winning the International Visionary Award for my esports leadership. I'm definitely a natural born leader. It's cool. I ran into a bunch of NBA players. Paul George, I ran into Paul George. I got to chill with a bunch of NBA players. I ran into a lot of NBA teams. It was a crazy experience to be also at Las Vegas and win an International Visionaries Award at the Caesar. Formed the Caesar, though. I'm black, and I live in the worst city for economic development, and I'm going to be a billionaire one day. And I also came over here. I got to say that we're at the King Park over there, and we're doing an Urban Youth Summer Basketball League. I got 100 people. I got old white people watching kids in the hood playing basketball. We're recording this, and it's actually going on 2 TV stations. AT&T and Comcast, over 40,000 households will be seeing kids at King Park playing basketball. I left here to come speak to you guys, and I've been waiting patiently. I tell you, I got a lot of patience. But we're doing some cool programming for our community. I was glad to hear that you guys have esports teams, and we're looking to expand those esports teams, and that one of the teams that you guys have actually placed in the competition. And so here in the Dean of Schools, talk about athletics and events. Eventually you'll have esports teams, and those kids will be able to get transferred and go to different venues and compete and hopefully win some state championships. Hopefully we produce very good talent here at GRPS, and those kids be able to get Division I scholarships and scholarships at any level of education. But I'm just knowing that my leadership and my international, I want a global business award too, but they want 10 grand to go to that. I can't go to that, but I'll take my award. I know I'm gonna get to the global level too. And so I left here to, because we're doing basketball at King Park. If you guys happen to drive past, you'll probably see people leaving, or there's probably people still there. We started kind of late, but we're doing some cool stuff. I'm reducing violence. I got a lot of kids from GRPS over there playing basketball at King Park, and I look forward to continuously doing my leadership and being a natural born leader that I am and giving back to my community. Thank you. I got to go because I've been here a little too long.
Dr. Lee?
Good evening. Thank you all for the opportunity to have remarks. So I am Dr. Darlene Lee, and I'm with the Yes for GR Kids Ballot Committee. And I'd like to first say that I am a proud product of GRPS schools. Elementary, middle school, and high school paved the way for me to obtain a bachelor's, master's, and an earned doctorate degree. So I'm so excited about the opportunity to help others reimagine GRPS, to promote and bring a high level of visibility and note the importance of the no tax increase bond. This is a unique opportunity for the GR community to give our students what they need and deserve most: secure, healthy, and healing educational facilities in which to thrive and build a solid foundation from which to launch productive lives. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have our superintendent comments.
Good evening once again. I just want to draw this to everyone's attention. This will be available online later this week, now that it has been officially approved. And we will also have, it's about 30 pages, and so we want to make sure that this is another layer to explain all the good work that we are doing and what has taken place. And we'll also have smaller bite-sized pieces for those who are not as interested in reading all 30 pages of wonderful information. So we'll have it 2 ways. Finally, I also want to acknowledge our Summer for Success graduates. This Thursday, July 20th, our later graduates who are part of the class of 2023 will be graduating. The celebration will be at 11 a.m. at Southwest High Middle School. And it's important that we all finish at different rates, and sometimes people need a little bit more time. And I am just always so very encouraged by young people who didn't give up when they weren't able to cross the stage with their classmates in June, but stayed the course and showed their grit. And so if you are available, or if you know a Summer of Success graduate, please just continue to lift them up, because it is not about where you start, it is about finishing. And this provides an opportunity. A high school diploma opens up doors. It is not the last place that we continue to learn, but we want to certainly encourage our young people who have finished a little bit later and just acknowledge them.
Thank you. Ms. Wade?
No comment.
Mr. Ross?
Just a quick shout out to previous Idle Hills football coach Christian Verley on kind of getting the ball rolling on that Detroit Lions donation.
Right.
It's good to see that to come to fruition. Hope he knows that that came to fruition and is feeling proud of his efforts.
Thank you. Ms. Shockey?
I just want to thank the Dean team for being here today. This is definitely, I think, one of the most critical issues for our families around transportation, and I just so appreciate your willingness to be a strong partner in this work. I'm a parent, certainly, that has had some frustrations with transportation over the years, but I'm also a parent who's had a son come home delighted with his ride home on the bus with a really joyful and exceptional bus driver. And so I too hope that you'll carry our gratitude to your driving team for the really important role they play in the lives of our scholars. So thank you.
Ms. Rodriguez?
No comment.
Ms. Downs-Lewis?
Yes, I'd like to reiterate what Ms. Shockey just said, because I think it was very nice of you to come. And now, when parents come to us, we'll have some answers for them. I'd also like to acknowledge John Helmholt and the work that he has done on this, I can't call it a brochure, it's got to be a booklet, I guess. Maybe it's a book, but it's absolutely incredible. And we would expect nothing less from you, John, but thank you so very much. Hard work. Thank you.
And then I'll end with thanking Dean for coming out and sharing, and we look forward to ways that we can partner to continue to connect you with our families. I also want to thank everyone for public comment. We know it's not difficult to come out and to take the time to be with us. Sometimes we run longer than we anticipate, but we thank you for the patience, sticking with us through the end of our meeting. And if there is nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.